Come on now. Do you understand? This is a hospital, you know. We're entrusted with people's lives. Even minor mistakes can potentially become serious issue. This is not a place for the incompetent who dropped out from the high school to be.
I was allowed to handle medical administration tasks through the courtesy of the director. A mistake was found in the supplies I ordered for the job, and I was being scolded by the elite doctor, John.
You, with just a high school diploma, are not cut out for the medical field. Just quit already. You're bringing inconveniences to everybody.
Understood. I did as I was told and left the scene. However, afterward, an emergency patient arrived, and the director spoke.
Where is he? He's the only one who can operate on this patient, you know.
John, discovering my true identity, turns pale, and then a major incident that jeopardized the future of the hospital occurs. I am Mike Johnson, 30 years old. John was a classmate of mine in high school. Whenever I talk to him, I can't help but reminisce about the old days. Back in high school, John excelled in both academics and athletics. He was always top of the class, and now he's a respected elite surgeon, a remarkable guy. Unlike me, he excelled in every aspect and was the subject of admiration among our classmates. He's probably what you would call a genius. Compared to him, I struggle with what most folks find straightforward. I'm often tardy and forgetful. I can hardly sit still in classes. When I acted disinterested, the teachers would often reprimand me. Because of all this, I was the target of mockery from my classmates.
You are so hopeless. People like you usually have something, either they're athletic or they're good talkers. They have some sort of redeeming quality. But you've got nothing.
Indeed, I'm good for nothing. Just like he said, I can't hold a conversation well, and I'm bad at both sports and studies. I didn't have any of the abilities that are needed in this world. I was fully aware of that. When I talk, everyone feels uncomfortable. Thinking so, I tried to be as quiet as possible and not engage in conversations. It would have been fine if they just left me alone, but the people around me didn't let me do so.
I was off my game for this test. Did John get a perfect score again?
Yeah, well, I guess. But you're probably better off than him.
Saying so, John points in my direction.
True. Can't be worse than Mike. Hey, how was the test score?
That classmate forcibly moves me from the desk and pulls out the test answer sheet.
Oh man, this guy flunked.
And with that, everyone started passing my answer sheet around, laughing and freely calling me terrible, stupid, a loser. I know I'm not great. Even so, being denied was painful. I've been trying my hardest to, going to school just to be mocked anyway. Eventually, I started missing more and more days until I finally stopped attending. In time, I fell short of credits, and it was decided I would repeat the year. At that point, I dropped out of high school. Now, I work at a hospital, but my job is strictly clerical. Even that is just simple tasks usually assigned to newbies. I learned the job from the younger clerical staff, but even such administrative work is difficult for me in the healthcare sector. I've never done medical administrative work before, and I'm not used to being taught something by someone. I carefully choose my words to avoid making other staff uncomfortable and ask questions cautiously. Is this the accurate product name, or is it a common name?
That's not what I am explaining right now. I'll explain it from the beginning, but
I've done it again. No matter how careful I am, I end up making others uncomfortable. It's always been like this for me. Once, I almost placed an incorrect order for supplies. To be precise, it was just before making a wrong order, and the clerk who was instructing me noticed it and stopped me.
you see, ordering so much cotton wool, what are you using it for? We only have limited space in the storage.
I'm very sorry.
And I did say to always talk to me before placing any orders, didn't I? Don't act on your own accord.
Seeing me getting scolded, a doctor who was nearby intervened.
Let's ease up. He's new here. Don't be too hard on him, and you also need to be more attentive. This is a hospital. Wait, you seem familiar. What's your name?
It's Mike Johnson.
Johnson. Oh, that Johnson, it's me. I'm John.
John. That elite John. My unwanted high school memories flashed through my mind.
You, in medical administration, the high school dropout, that you. Give me a break. No matter how short-staffed we are, hiring someone like this. You remember at least how to add and multiply, right?
I remember that much.
Are you acquainted with the doctor?
Yeah, he was a classmate in high school, a guy with no talent, a real bottom feeder. I don't want to be thought of as his acquaintance. It must be tough for you. Being in charge of his training, I truly sympathize. Oh, it's time for the conference. I have to hurry.
He said what he wanted and promptly left the scene. But, typical of John, who would have thought he'd become such a respectable doctor? Compared to him, I am. He seems to be a surgeon, and he specializes and is trained in a wide range of fields. A surgeon who can do anything. The administrative assistant who informed me speaks about him with a tone of admiration. He really was incredible. Since then, every time we passed each other in the hospital, John would speak to me.
Hey, Johnson. Not causing any trouble, are you? You know you're useless, so make sure you stay out of people's way. You're just here to dump more work on us, aren't you? Think about the inconvenience to others. I heard some strange guy is wandering around the hospital. Looks like some loser who can't do anything and dropped out of high school.
Before I could retort, he spat out his sarcasm and left. Even if I had a moment to respond, I'd be at a loss for words, but still, every mocking word pierces my heart. I couldn't focus on my work. Despite being taught patiently, the mocking phrases lingered in my mind, making it hard to listen attentively. One day, when I was coming to work, I saw the director. It's the director of this hospital, Director Roberts. Director. I halted Director.
I'm heading out for a conference. Is it something urgent?
I'm sorry. I talked to the director about John's sarcastic remarks.
I see. I'm sorry, but I can't address it immediately. I'm running late, so if you'll excuse me.
With that, the director hurriedly left. Now, I had no one to turn to. I felt backed into a corner mentally. There was no way things would go well at work in this state. And then, I mistyped the inventory counts. The administrative assistant in charge of training spotted it.
Johnson, You did it again. How many times do we have to go over this?
I messed up again. I'm so sorry. Here comes a lecture. You messed up again. A sudden voice. Turning around, there was John.
Hey, hey, do you even understand? This is a hospital, you know. We're responsible for people's lives here. When there's someone as nonchalant and careless as you around, it's a real inconvenience for the rest of us. Even trivial mistakes can potentially become serious. This is no place for incompetence. Just quit already. Go work somewhere that's a good fit for you.
But I've finally made it here.
Do you think I care about your circumstances? Come on, go say your farewell to everyone.
John takes a deep breath and then raises his voice.
Hey, everyone, listen up. There's a message from Johnson.
A message? I was bewildered, and John whispered,
Come on, say you're quitting. Say, I'm resigning because I'm incompetent and can't do anything. I'm sorry for all the trouble I've caused. Do you want me to say it for you? It's an honor for a high school dropout like you to have me speak on your behalf, isn't it? Well, that's also impudent. Just say it yourself. Come on, quickly.
Sure, it's my fault for making a mistake, but I don't want to quit. No, I can't take it anymore. Just as John said, if I stay here, everyone will be troubled. I quit.
Hey, did everyone hear that? You better get out of here quickly then. See ya.
I ended up quitting the hospital I finally got into in just a week. I guess I really can't do anything. No matter what I did at home, whether I was asleep or awake, I was constantly plagued by self-loathing. It's been about 3 days since then. I've just been spacing out at home. I can't bring myself to do anything. That's when I got a call from Director Roberts.
What are you doing? Come here at once.
It was a scolding over the phone. Indeed, if I suddenly disappear without any formalities, it would understandably complicate things. I went to the hospital as I was told and headed to the director's office. When I entered the director's office, John was also there. He seemed to be in a bad mood.
I've heard most of the story, but that wasn't good, Johnson. We cannot have you resigning. John, what you're doing is harassment, isn't it? And you don't even have the authority, do you?
With all due respect, Director, as I mentioned, he is a high school classmate of mine. He hasn't grown at all since then. In other words, he is a person who has no prospect of growing in the future. I merely eliminated the risk leading to medical accidents.
That is indeed the case. Johnson, you can no longer work in medical administration.
That's right, Johnson. Have you written your letter of resignation?
Wait a minute, John. Why are you trying to make him resign?
But Director, you also just said.
He is here because I specifically asked him to come. It was my lack of explanation, but he is.
At that moment, an announcement signaling an emergency case sounds. John is also being called. The expressions of the two change, and they leave the director's office at a fast pace. I followed along with the flow. It's an emergency surgery. The patient is a man in his 50s. Sudden paralysis, articulation disorder, and then fainting. It's a stroke.
Consciousness level at 20. And the vitals.
In the tense atmosphere, John quickly grasps the situation.
Which one was open?
It's the second one.
All right, let's do this.
John is full of spirit. It was a serious expression that one could not imagine from his usual self.
Johnson, I need you.
Director.
At the sudden word of the director, John pauses for a moment.
This is no time for jokes.
No, he is the most qualified. In America, he is the only one who can perform this operation. I am counting on you, Johnson.
Understood.
Director.
With John assisting, we proceeded with the surgery. For me, it wasn't a particularly challenging operation. When we safely finished and left the operating room, the patient's family was there.
Doctor, is my husband going to be all right?
He's fine. There are no threats to his life. The quick transport was a lifesaver. Given his condition, there should be no after effects, or if any, they would be very mild. The rehabilitation should also be manageable. Thank you so much. The family, with tears in their eyes, expresses their gratitude. I suddenly shut my mouth. I should have told them that it's uncertain until he wakes up. With sweat pouring down his forehead and looking utterly exhausted, John grabbed my arm.
You, come here a sec.
Pulled away from the family, John faced me with a serious expression.
Who are you?
Who am I? I braced myself, expecting another sarcastic remark, when a voice of relief sounded.
It seems to have ended safely.
Turning around, there was Director Roberts. Yes, it wasn't that difficult, a typical case.
Not difficult.
Oh, right. I haven't explained it to John yet.
The director explained to him on my behalf. Come to think of it, that moment changed my life. Being unable to fit in with my surroundings, my parents took me to the hospital. Even though I wasn't sick, just a bit slow. Worried, my parents forcibly took me there. At that time, it was Director Roberts who saw me. Director Roberts, unlike anyone else, listened to my story attentively and patiently. I was examined and tested, feeling like a lab animal, but thanks to the kind Director Roberts, it wasn't harsh. As a result of the diagnosis, the reason for my lack of intelligence was understood. My IQ was too high. I thought of it as just a number indicating intelligence, but it seems hard to communicate when there's too much of a gap with others. My parents, while relieved, seemed perplexed.
If he is so smart, why can't he study well?
Director Roberts, asked this, also seemed a bit perplexed.
Well, even if we say genius in one word, there are various kinds. Johnson, would you mind explaining?
I won't be understood anyway. I had thought so until now and couldn't tell anyone. But if it's Director Roberts, the answers, multiple ones come to mind.
Oh, for instance, well, what is 1 + 1?
My parents answer, looking baffled.
It's 2.
Now, just hold on. Johnson, there's no need to be scared. The answer doesn't have to be 1. Say whatever comes to your mind. I am sure all of them are correct.
Yes, first, 2, and I continue. And besides, 1, 10, 1001, no, it can be infinite. Any number can potentially be the answer to 1 + 1. It's just that I can't discern which answer is being asked for. Even when I randomly write 1, the rate of correctness was low.
Interesting. Has anyone ever taught you such complex theorems before?
No, never. It's about rules and concepts. I glance at the 3 faces. Still, It doesn't seem like they understand the meaning of my words. Nevertheless, only the director was gently smiling at me.
It must have been hard to live like that. You've done well to cope until now. It must have been so tough. Mom, Dad, please become his greatest understanders. He is a genius, a rare possessor of talent.
Before I know it, my eyes were brimming with tears. I've always been told I was below average. No matter how hard I tried, it felt like my efforts were never enough. No one was there to acknowledge my hard work. No one would listen to my stories. I felt a newfound friendship and warmth with Director Roberts, like he was the first friend I ever made. Director recommended studying abroad. It seems that in the UK, they have a system in place to accept gifted individuals like me. A special, but for me, natural environment. I traveled to the UK with my mom and studied hard abroad. Living overseas was enjoyable. Above all, I made plenty of friends who I could really talk to. Inspired by my admiration for Director Roberts, I obtained a medical license while still in high school. I skipped grades in high school and graduated valedictorian from medical school. My thesis was also highly evaluated, but it still hasn't gained recognition in America. I became a physician in UK and specialized in neurosurgery. By the time I became a fully fledged neurosurgeon, I received a contact from Director Roberts. He said he really needed my help. It was a difficult surgery, and it seemed that the patient was a politician who had done a lot for the director. I immediately headed back to America. He told me I didn't have to do anything until everything was ready. However, I made a selfish request. I wanted to become better at human relations. I want to get accustomed to the on-site lingo as well. Reluctantly, the director said it was all right for me to work in medical administration. So, I ended up working in medical administration until my own work began. I did cause quite a bit of trouble in that regard. John seemed downcast.
No way. I thought you were just at the bottom all this time.
John, you must never forget dignity towards others. As a doctor and as a human being, the way you treated him was the lowest of the low as a human being. You can't truly engage in medical care like that. You can't just fix diseases and injuries and call it a day.
Those words from the director resonated in my chest, too. I am a neurosurgeon, and one with quite a high level of specialization. However, on the other hand, I can't do anything else. The people I can save are only in a limited field. John and I could only look down as if we were children being scolded by our father.
Johnson, if it's all right with you, won't you stay in this hospital? Let's lead American medical care together.
I was conflicted. I do like Director Roberts indeed. But no, once the requested surgery is done, I'll return to the UK. I do have talent. I aim to become the doctor that leads the world.
Oh really? You become remarkable. You couldn't say anything about yourself in the beginning. Seems like you are still working hard as ever.
I still have a long way to go.
John, it seems you were arrogant. Healing patients isn't about academic background. Plus, medicine is evolving every day. If you had paid attention to cases and doctors around the world, you should have noticed his situation a long time ago. Isn't that quite a lack of study?
Yes.
Well, it's after a tough surgery. I won't say more. Both of you did well.
People have their strengths and weaknesses. I'm likely not going to be an all-around doctor. I can't become a doctor like Director nor John, but precisely because of that, I want to become a specialist in my field. I will reach the top as a neurosurgeon and save many people in my own way. Since that day, John has started talking to me as an equal. Even when my explanations jump around too much, he patiently asks me to clarify. When I'm stuck choosing words, he understands and patiently waits for me. There are only 3 days left until I return to UK after the surgery, but I feel like I spent most of that time with John. I was happy. It seemed like I made a friend in America as well. The day after the requested surgery was completed and greetings to the director were done, I left the director's office, and there was John.
I'd like to see you off, but unfortunately, I'm swamped. Dr. Johnson, if anything troubles you, feel free to consult with me anytime. I'm here for you, no matter how trivial it may seem. I share the responsibility for making your life difficult. Don't hesitate.
Thank you. That's reassuring. Can't believe such an elite like you is saying this to me.
What the heck? Is that sarcasm?
No, it's not sarcasm.
I get it. Let's both do our best.
Director and John, thank you. Life is still in its midst. What can I do? I felt the possibilities were endless. Just because I can't do the same thing as others doesn't mean I should belittle myself. Being different is what makes a person unique, and it becomes their strength. Leveraging that is up to me. I think people can shine more if they can accept themselves without blame. You are a gem that can shine,